Father Miller here. Welcome back to the Nerd Father. I decided to go live with this because I saw this story yesterday. This article is from today, but I saw a story going around yesterday saying that the Vatican Secretary of State had banned private masses from being said at the Vatican at St. Peter's Basilica. And I wanted to wait until it was confirmed by other news sources because the sites that I saw it was on not exactly trustworthy or friendly, I guess you could say. But apparently, it is true that the Vatican Secretary of State issued a five-page document yesterday. It's in Italian, so I have no clue how to read it, but stated that masses on the side altars of the Vatican will no longer be done. Um, for the life of me, I don't understand this. So I got two articles I wanted to look at because for one of the greatest thrills I had was I got to go to Rome 3 years ago. It's something that I've been wanting to do for almost 20 years. So being able to go to Rome was awesome. I got to say mass in the grotto, the underground part in the Clementine Chapel, which is right by the bones of St. Peter. So, but one of the things I wanted to do when I went to Rome was I wanted to be able to say Mass at the altar of St. John Paul II because in the main body of the Vatican, when you come into it, off to your right is the Pieta statue, and then the next altar over is the tomb of St. John Paul II. And I'll be honest, it's been 3 years, and like I said, the Vatican's very overwhelming when you visit it. So, anyway, this is coming from the Catholic News Agency stating, and this was yesterday, so I guess I must have missed this. When it came out about 7 o'clock last night. But effective March 22nd, so there's still 9 days, the Vatican Secretary of State has banned the private celebration of masses at side altars. Again, you go to Rome, especially if you're a priest, you go to Rome, you want to say Mass at the Vatican. You don't want to be a concelebrant. You want to be the main celebrant. You want to be able to be the one leading the prayers. When I went to Rome, it was for the ordination of one of our deacons, and I celebrated the Mass. It was in the chair of St. Peter Chapel. And of course, because the cardinal was doing the Mass, I mean, you're not going to be the main celebrant. So I was probably one of about 50 priests there, I think. But anyway, the regulations might seem tailored to meet COVID restrictions. However, it appears the new rule appears to be permanent. And I was kind of hoping when I first saw this that it was going to be a temporary thing because it says that the letter stresses that Lent is a time to focus on the Word of God and the celebration of the Eucharist. It says the changes are intended to ensure the Holy Masses in St. Peter's Basilica takes place in a climate of recollection and liturgical decency. Now, I have no clue what that's supposed to mean. Um, anyway, until now, the 45 altars, I didn't realize it was that much, and 11 chapels in St. Peter's have been used every morning by priests to celebrate their daily Mass. Many of them are Vatican officials who begin their day with the celebration. Not all the Masses are crowded. In some cases, the priest celebrates Mass along with no faithful participating. So again, going back to my experience when I went to Rome, I got to say Mass by myself. And yeah, it's awkward when you're doing Mass on your own, but it's still a thrill to be able to do that. So the individual Masses were in addition to the general daily Mass schedule at St. Peter's Basilica. According to that schedule, there's one Mass per hour from 9 till noon, in Italian at the altar of the chair. There's another Mass in Italian at 8:30 a.m. at the altar of the Most Holy Sacrament, while each day there's a 5 p.m. Mass in Latin. Now, see, there's no English. No English Masses. So, yes, okay, Rome is Italy. It's Italian main language, but what about those that are visiting from outside of the country? A lot of people come to the Vatican. On Sundays, there are 5 Masses celebrated in Italian and one in Latin. So, under the new measures, all priests will be able to participate in a pre-listed series of celebrations at 7 and 8 And at 7:30 at 9, all the other masses stay scheduled as they have been until now, although the mass on Sunday night might change. On the feast day of a saint whose relics are in the basilica, so just for example, because I remember seeing this, not only St. John Paul II, but St. John the 23rd, his body is able to be viewed at St. Peter's. It's one of those that was incorrupt. Um, so one of the masses can be celebrated at the altar dedicated to that saint. The measures also ask that the masses have lectors and cantors. Lectors I could see, cantors I don't know about. Another change: Mass offered in the extraordinary form of the Roman Rite will be limited to the Clementine Chapel in the Vatican Grotto. There's been a broad discussion of whether to end the practice of individual masses as part of a general reform of the management of St. Peter's Basilica. However, the decisions were postponed until the appointment of a new archpriest of the Basilica following the retirement of Cardinal Comstrati, who had previously served in the role but had surpassed the normal retirement age of 75. Okay, so this part's interesting. The letter from the Secretary of State is not addressed to the new Archpriest of St. Peter's, but to Archbishop Giordana, who is the Commissioner of the Fabric of St. Peter. That's something I've never heard of before, but it says that the Fabric of St. Peter's does not deal with liturgical celebrations, but is in charge with its conservation and maintenance. The fact that the letter was released by the first section of the Secretariat of State has also garnered attention, as the first section is a sort of Ministry of Internal Affairs in charge of all the curia, offices, directions, and coordination, but not typically liturgical celebration. Additionally, the release of the letter was not accompanied by any kind of official Vatican communication, nor was the letter signed in full by Archbishop Edgar Para, who heads the first section of the Secretary of State, but included only his initials. These anomalies have prompted some speculation that the letter may have been forged. However, and this is key here, two Vatican officials who asked for to be unnamed confirmed that the document is real. So, like I said, this is dumbfounding. And this is coming, I think, in the 8th year as Pope Francis is celebrating his 8th year of his pontificate. So, but there was another article I wanted to share coming from the National Catholic Register. Let's see if I can bring that up. Looks like I've gone mute. Let's see. Okay, that's weird. Let's see. My computer seems to have frozen. Let's see. Okay, let's see. So if you're still watching, it appears my computer has frozen. I don't know what's going on. Of course, I also have about 50 windows open, so that's probably part of it. Let's see. Let me try closing some of this. While we're doing that, let me see if I can open up another thing. Hold on. Let's see. Whoops. Let's see, am I back? Apparently not. I'm going to try open this up on another window. Let's see. So if anybody is still watching, let me know if this is still working or not. I'm going to try open up YouTube in a different window. So Let's see. Again, apologies for this if this is still streaming. Let's close a few things out. Let's see. Okay, so that's probably a big part of it. Okay, hold on. Um, okay, so it looks like I'm back, I think. Yeah, sorry about that. I was having some technical problems there. My screen locked up, so I didn't know if I was still broadcasting or not. But good to see you, Miss Martin. The thing that gives me hope is this. Even though this may be a permanent thing, it can always be undone, and I think that's probably what's going to happen with whoever the next pope is. Or at least I hope, because again, you go to Rome, you want to be able to say mass on your own. You don't want to be with a big group. So okay, I already shared this one. Let's try opening up the other window. Yeah, I really, really hope it's not true. I really hope it's not true because the idea that you're going to prevent priests from celebrating Mass at the altars, I don't understand this. Okay, so this is from the National Catholic Register. This is from Cardinal Burke, who used to be the Archbishop of St. Louis, and he was the former head of the what's called the Apostolic Signatura, which is the Supreme Court for the Vatican. And he's basically calling for this letter to be rescinded. And let me see if this is his letter. We'll probably bring this one up next. Oh, okay, they got the translation. Okay, so let's actually do this first. Hold on. Okay, so let me see. Okay, let's zoom in on that. So this is from the Secretary of State, the first section, General Affairs, to the Extraordinary Commissioner of the Fabric of St. Peter. The season of Lent invites us to return to the Lord with all our heart, giving greater centrality to listening to the Word of God and the Eucharistic celebration. In this sense, wishing to ensure that Holy Masses in St. Peter's Basilica takes place in an atmosphere of recollection and liturgical decorum, from now on the following is ordered. Individual celebrations are suppressed. Priests and faithful who daily come to the Basilica for Holy Mass will have the opportunity to participate. Again, the times as we mentioned before. Celebrations shall be liturgically animated with the assistance of readers and cantors. Groups of pilgrims accompanied by a bishop or a priest are assured the possibility of celebrating Holy Mass in the Vatican grottos, so the underneath chapels. With regards to the extraordinary rite, which is wrong because it's the extraordinary form, it's not called the extraordinary rite. We're the Latin rite. So within the Latin rite, you have the ordinary form, which is what I celebrate because I don't know how to do the extraordinary form. So in America, the ordinary form is English, extraordinary form is Latin, and that would be the Tridentine. The present dispositions will come into force on March 22nd, Monday of the 5th week of Lent. And again, it's a working translation. So, I can't believe this. So, let's bring up the article from Cardinal Burke. So, again, Cardinal Burke says that it should be rescinded, and let's see. Okay, so Priests and faithful coming to the Basilica will only be able to take part in one of the four concelebrated Masses each morning, each limited to 30 minutes, as well as the other concelebrated Masses during the day at the main altars. The Vatican instruction, which is dated yesterday, comes into effect on the 22nd, says that these concelebrations should have the assistance of readers and cantors, and that groups accompanied by the bishop or priest are now to celebrate Mass in the Vatican grottos underneath the Basilica. You know, when I went to Rome, I really, really wanted to be able to say Mass at St. John Paul II's tomb, which is an altar, and it's really hard to get that because there's such a demand to be able to say Mass there. The last point says that authorized priest, don't know how that is, who wish to celebrate Masses in the extraordinary form, traditional Latin Mass, can only do so in the Clementine Chapel and at 4 times each morning, also limited to 30 minutes. So, let's see. Okay, so as it says here, again, it's weird because it came from the Secretary of State, which is not competent for the liturgical discipline of the Church, nor was it communicated to the Cardinal Archbishop of the Basilica, but rather the one that, again, deals with the administration and maintenance of St. Peter's. So here's where Cardinal Burke comes in. He says that the most serious element of the letter concerns its imposition on celebration upon priests who wish to offer Mass in the Basilica. A change, they say, that pertains not only to the Basilica but to the Universal Church as St. Peter's is the spiritual home for all Catholics, and they say should be a model of liturgical discipline. The letter Cardinal Burke wrote in a statement to be published on his website. Let's see. Oh, okay, he does have a website. I'm going to bring that up. And let's see. I'm just looking at his website, trying to see if I can find where it is. I can't, but I'll go back to it. So, okay, so the former prefect of the Supreme Court asked if an individual priest wishes to offer the Holy Mass in the Basilica, one of the directives in question. Once the directives are in question, let me start over again. Once the directives in question are in force, he will be constrained to concelebrate in violation of his freedom to offer the Holy Mass individually. Cardinal Burke added that for a priest to individually offer Mass is not only a right, but brings great spiritual fruit for the whole Church. Regarding its rules on celebrating Mass in the extraordinary form, which he notes, again, calls it the extraordinary rite, Cardinal Burke stressed that according to Pope Benedict XVI's motu proprio Summorum Pontificum, no priest in good standing needs authorization to celebrate Mass in the extraordinary form. And I remember when that came out, that was a big thing. Because beforehand, you had to get permission from the bishop to be able to celebrate Mass in the extraordinary form. He also wondered according to the letter, the Basilica is restraining such Masses to only 4 priests each day. A provision that, if true, would be another direct violation of universal church law. Restricting Mass in the extraordinary form to the Vatican grottos is also a return to the previous practice that existed before Summorum Pontificum. Further criticisms the Cardinal makes about the letter is its requirement that the concelebrated Masses be liturgically animated by lectors and cantors. He says that while liturgical discipline provides for their service, it's not their purpose to animate the sacred liturgy, but rather it is Christ alone whose person the priest acts. Because again, a priest acts in persona Christi, in the person of Christ, who animates the sacred liturgy. Given all these reasons, he said that the letter should be rescinded immediately. I agree. I totally agree. That the thinking which underlines such a document should be corrected, and the underlying liturgical doctrine and discipline of the Universal Church be expounded for the faithful. Cardinal Burke also takes issue with the letter's introduction, which says that the new rules are intended so that masses in the basilica can celebrate in an atmosphere of recollection and liturgical decorum. Again, what the heck does that mean? So this says this presupposes that this is currently lacking in some way. The cardinal ended his statement by referring to Canon 212 from canon law, which recognizes the right for the faithful to make their concerns known to their pastors for the good of the church, and calling on the faithful, for whom the basilica is their mother church, and priests throughout the world to make known to Pope Francis and to his Secretary of State their strong objection to the document in question. Some have wondered if COVID-19 is part of the reason for the change. It isn't mentioned in the letter. I did say, and I didn't know this, but concelebrated masses were also temporarily banned during last year's lockdown to prevent contagion. However, church sources have told the Register that this is a change some in the Vatican have been pushing for many years, going back to when Cardinal No was the Archbishop of the Basilica from 91 to 2002. Let's see. CNA's Catholic News Agency also reported in January there's a broad discussion among members of the chapter of the Basilica have been taking place over whether to keep the possibility for priests and pilgrims to book individual masses or a rule that they must take part in those already scheduled. These decisions were postponed until the February 20th retirement of Cardinal Comstrari as archpriest and his subsequent replacement by Cardinal Gambiti. She also reported that the abolishing the daily mass in Latin in the ordinary form of the Roman Rite was part of the discussions, but there's no mention of that in the letter. So, again, I don't know. Yeah, or others what in the Latin Rite? I mean, there's the different... Oh, be honest, I don't know the Dominican form. Not very familiar. Yeah, and that's part of the thing too. We're wondering, okay, so 4 priests a day to give the mass, and it'd be a low mass. So the high mass would be the sung choir, everything. Low mass is the quiet one. I don't know. I mean, there's no concelebration in the extraordinary form, so it probably would assume that there's only 4 priests allowed to give the low mass, and again, only in the Clementine Chapel. So, while I'm doing this, let me see if I can find Cardinal Burke's letter. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Maybe we can find it on this. Hold on. Let's see. Nope. Okay, so I'm not having any luck finding Cardinal Burke's letter. Let me see if he might have... Cardinal Burke's only 72. I didn't realize that. So technically he still has the... I don't know where he's at now. He's still in Rome, I know that. Let's see. Maybe we can find it on Google. So as I'm looking this up, I'm hoping everybody is doing well. I'm going to be streaming tomorrow night, doing a solo stream, but I'm going to be, because St. Patrick's is coming up on Wednesday and St. Joseph's on Friday, and also St. Joseph is a solemnity, and canon law says that when it falls on a Friday of Lent, we are not obliged to eat meat, or to abstain from meat on a Friday of Lent, because the solemnity trumps the Lenten practice, because the solemnity is one of the highest feasts of the church. It is the highest feast of the church. So like Christmas is a solemnity, Easter, I think maybe the Church of St. Peter might be a solemnity. I can't remember. Okay, so Cardinal Burke has a Twitter. Okay, so here we go. We got the thing. Um, yeah, I know low mass is about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Um, Solemn mass is about an hour and a half. I myself, I really don't have a desire to learn the extraordinary form, mostly because I'm not fluent in Latin. If I was fluent in Latin, then I would know and understand the words that I'm saying when I pray the Mass. So that's really the main reason I don't have a desire to do the extraordinary form, because I'm not fluent in Latin. I mean, I can pronounce Latin, um, but some of them, it's not that easy. Okay, so this is Cardinal Burke's response. Let's see. Okay, so it's not too big, not too long. So Burke writes that on basically yesterday, the first section, General Affairs of the Secretary of State of Pope Francis, published a document containing certain dispositions regarding the offering of the Holy Mass in the Papal Basilica. Anyway, we're going to skip because a lot of this is repeat. But regarding the form of the document, there are several concerns. It is an unsigned document from the first section of the Secretary of State without a protocol number, legislating regarding the most sacred aspect of the Church's life, the offering of Holy Mass. It bears the seal of the first section with initials. While the document appears to be authentic, that is, not forged, it cannot be retained to be a document containing valid legislation for the sacred liturgy. The Secretary of State is not competent for the liturgical discipline of the Church, and in particular for the liturgical discipline of at the Basilica of St. Peter in the Vatican. Rightly, one asks, by what authority has the Secretary of State issued directives which are contrary to the discipline of the Universal Church? The further question regards what process was followed to arrive at the publication of such a document. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I mean, I know what it is, but I'm not going to try. Too many syllables. Given the incompetence, I can say that with no trouble, of the Secretary of State in the matter, besides, incompetence is a word that used a lot. I don't think I use this word intentionally ever. Okay, so given the incompetence of the Secretary of the State in this matter, and again, sad to say he's only 66, so he still has at least 9 years to go before he has to submit his letter of resignation. And heaven help me, because I'm criticizing the bishop, and that's not a good thing to do, and I really don't like doing that. But for crying out loud, this is nuts. The faithful have the right to know what competent authority gave the mandate to the Secretary of State to legislate regarding the sacred liturgy, that is, to issue directives regarding the offering of the Holy Mass in the Papal Basilica of St. Peter. The Papal Basilica of St. Peter in the Vatican now has a Cardinal Archpriest, but the document in question is not officially communicated to him. Neither is there any reference made to his responsibility for the liturgical discipline at the Basilica confided to his care. The content of the document is likewise a source of deepest concerns. The document supposes that the Holy Mass in the Basilica of St. Peter are presently offered in a climate lacking in some measure in recollection and liturgical decorum. I'm going to assume that's the Italian translation there. This is certainly not my experience. I know many priests resident in Rome and visitors to Rome who have celebrated or regularly celebrate the Holy Mass at St. Peter's Basilica. While they have expressed to me their profound gratitude for the opportunity to celebrate the Holy Mass in the Basilica, again, I loved it. I got to say 2 Masses when I was there. They have not indicated that the climate in which they have celebrated the Holy Mass in the Basilica was in any way lacking in the reverence, recollection, and dignity which befits the sacrament of sacraments. The document imposes concelebration upon priests who wish to offer the Holy Mass in St. Peter's, which is contrary to the universal church law, and which unjustly conditions the primary duty of the individual priest to offer Mass daily for the salvation of the world. In what church more than in the Basilica of St. Peter would a priest desire to offer the Holy Mass? Again, this is what I'm saying. You go to Rome, you want to say Mass at St. Peter's. It's like going to a steakhouse and ordering a salad as your main course. You don't do that. If an individual priest wishes to offer the Holy Mass in the Basilica, Once the directives are in question are in force, he will be constrained to celebrate in violation of his freedom or to offer the Holy Mass individually. Regarding, and the other thing too with celebrating Mass, um, I've been with priests that talk really, really, really fast when they pray the prayers, and it's hard to keep up. It's easy to stumble, and especially when it comes to the words of consecration, you got to make sure you say those exact words, word for word. You can't screw up on that. So, regarding individual offering of the Holy Mass, it must be observed that it is not only a question of the right of the priest, but also of great spiritual fruit for the whole Church, since the infinite merits of the holy sacrifice of the Mass are more greatly and widely applied in a manner befitting our finite and temporal nature. So St. John Vianney, patron saint of priests, said that if you were to put all the good works in the world up against the value of one holy Mass, it's like a grain of sand beside a mountain. So, but anyway, let's see. So, it is helpful to reflect upon the teachings of the Council of Trent, which was held shortly after the Reformation, regarding the situation of a priest who offers Holy Mass without any member of the faithful receiving Holy Communion. The Council teaches that the Holy Council would certainly like the faithful present at every Mass to communicate in it not only by spiritual devotion but also sacrament reception of the Eucharist, so that the fruits of this most holy sacrifice could be theirs more fully. It goes on to state, but if this does not always happen, the Council does not for that reason condemn as private and illicit masses in which only the priest communicates. So when I'm traveling, if I'm in the hotel room, so when I went to Philly this summer, I decided to kind of quarantine myself at a hotel for 2 days rather than go back to the parish and say the Mass. I had a priest lined up for coverage. I celebrated Mass in my hotel room, and I was the only one there. I self-communicated. No other lay people were there. So, anyway, rather it approves and commends them, for they too should be considered truly communal masses, partly because the people communicate spiritually in them, and partly because they are celebrated by a public minister of the Church, not for his own good alone, but for all the faithful who belong to the body of Christ. It should be further observed that the priest never offers the Holy Mass alone, even if there is no one else physically present, for the angels and saints assist at each offering of the Holy Mass. That's in Canon Law 903, Canon 903. This part with the extraordinary form, again, stating falsely it's the extraordinary rite. The document refers to authorized priests, but no priest in good standing needs authorization to offer the Holy Mass in the extraordinary form. And again, this comes from the Motu Proprio, paragraph 2. What is more, the document limits the offering of the Holy Mass according to the extraordinary form at 4 fixed times. It is supposed, therefore, that each day only 4 priests will be permitted to offer the Holy Mass, and since universal church law permits the individual priest in such circumstances to offer the Holy Mass either according to either the ordinary form or the extraordinary form, the directive in question is in direct violation of universal church law. 2 more points. The document also legislates that the concelebrated Masses be animated liturgically by the service of lectors and cantors. While the liturgical discipline of the Church provides for the service of lectors and cantors, it is not their purpose to animate the sacred liturgy. Exactly. Christ alone, in whose person the priest acts, animates the sacred liturgy. So just as the article was saying. Therefore, it should not be thought that the individual offering the Holy Mass is somehow less animated in the true spiritual sense than the concelebrated Mass. For the sake of the Catholic faith and for the good order of the sacred liturgy, still got some tea. So, the highest and most perfect expression of the Church's life in Christ, the document in question should be rescinded immediately before its supposed effective date of March 22nd. Furthermore, the thinking which underlines such a document should be corrected. Again, awesome. Definitely needs to be. while the discipline of the universal church and the liturgical doctrine which underlies it is expounded for the faithful. In conclusion, church discipline recognizes the right and indeed the duty of the Christian faithful to make known to their pastors the concern. Well, we already covered that too. Um, Given the gravity of the situation represented by the document in question, it is my hope that many of the Christian faithful, for whom the Basilica of St. Peter is, in a particular sense, their mother church, and above all, many priests from throughout the world will make known to Pope Francis and to his Secretary of State their strong objection to the document in question. So that was issued today by Cardinal Burke in Rome. Um, yeah. I know maybe 2, 3 priests in Rome. I might reach out to them, see what they know. I won't name names, but one of them works in the Vatican. I don't remember which office, but I'd be interested in hearing what he has to say. So I think that's about all I'm going to cover for today. Like I said, I'm going to go live tomorrow talking about St. Patrick's Day, and one of the little things that's known, probably it's not talked about a lot, is that the Irish in America were greatly persecuted. And so when I taught church history, I would spend a good amount of time talking about the persecution, not only of the Catholics in America, but also the Irish. Because, anyway, but it messed up. So, but thanks for joining me, and until tomorrow, God bless.